welcome to the NewsX Sunday Guardian Roundtable. Today we are taking a look at Ghulam Nabi Azad's recently released autobiography. In fact, I have a copy with me called Azad, an Autobiography. Of course, he feels that he is now Azad, now that he's broken from the shackles of the Congress, a party that he worked with and also was a leader for about 5 decades. So it's a very interesting title for him to pick up. We all know he had this falling out with Rahul Gandhi, after which he left the party. He's formed his own party also. But the book, there is a tone of, I would say, hurt. There is a lot of anguish, and he writes about his tenure in the Congress. He says this book is for the next generation of leaders, so they will know what politics was, कि संघर्ष क्या होता है, politics क्या होता है, and all that he has contributed to the Congress. And it's very fascinating for a political historian because it is also the making of a Congress party. He's worked with Congress. He was, in fact, I think the last Congress leader, apart from Moisina Kidwai, who can trace their origins to Indira Gandhi Council of Ministers. He's worked with prime ministers ever since. He's been parliamentary affairs minister, general secretary for states all over India. So as a book in itself, as a testament of history, I think it is a very important book. Joining me for this conversation is Rajesh Singh. He is an author, political analyst, and someone who's helped Ghulam Nabi Azad write this book. Rashid Kidwai, author, 24 Akbar Road. He's written a biography on Sonia Gandhi, amongst other books also, and a political analyst. Pankaj Vora, managing editor, Sunday Garden, someone who's also watched the Congress very closely. But Rajesh, really, you are the man of the moment. Really, it is your, this book is really doing very well. It's making a lot of headlines, maybe for all the wrong reasons. Because Ghulam Nabi Saab told us in an interview to NewsX that you are only focusing on one chapter. The book is not about Rahul Gandhi. It is about a lot of other things also. So is the book getting the wrong kind of attention? What do you say?
No, as a political analyst, I would say that it is not getting the wrong kind of attention. Everybody is keyed in on the turmoil within the Congress, the failures of the Congress, etc., etc. And many of them trace the problems to Rahul Gandhi. So it is very obvious that the book, and it's not that he has not written about Rahul Gandhi, so therefore it's natural that people should be talking about the book vis-a-vis his comments on the Congress, the Rahul Gandhi's leadership, etc. But yes, I take his point that there is a lot more to the book than just Rahul Gandhi. And so therefore, I think that has not yet come out in many of the discussions and debates. Maybe we can discuss that as we go along. But fantastic insights into, as you said earlier, into the making of the Congress, and not just the making of the Congress, the making of Indian politics from the 70s onwards, because it was around 76, 77 that Ghulam Nabi Azad came into active politics. So from there on till now, it is a history of the Congress party, the history of India's politics, and of course about his interpersonal relations with a number of Congress leaders throughout this tenure.
In fact, that's why it's called autobiography, because then the personal prism comes in when it's an autobiography. What I found very interesting, Rajesh, is also, when he talks about his relationship, of course, he was a good friend of Sanjay Gandhi. Then after Sanjay's death, he had a very informal equation with Mrs. Indira Gandhi, which went on with Rajiv, Sonia, and stopped, I think, at Rahul. So that seems to be the whole problem, because all the examples he gives us, he shows how he has differed with Indira Gandhi. I think there's an instance, Rashid, you'll be interested to know, where she asked him she said, the Youth Congress is yours, you make the appointments and I will not interfere. Then she gives him a list of 2 names, which Mr. Azad turns it down, and because it did not meet the criteria. Then R.K. Dhawan calls him and says, Mrs. Gandhi wants to meet you. So he goes then, bilkul bebak, he goes and says, this is the reason why I rejected your names and all that. So she looks at him and says, did I ask you for an explanation? I don't always have to be right. I think, these are the things he says with Rajiv also, how he said we differed many times, but we never had, we all agreed to disagree. So that is what I think, Rajesh, that's the undercurrent of the book, I thought. He had differences with Rao, Kesri, Rajiv, Indira Gandhi, but these did not, mend the larger picture, really, which is what is happening in the current leadership. Is that, when he was writing, was this a conscious effort, or this just came out, I think, during the narrative?
No, when he was, it was very obvious that that he had enormous regard and respect for Sanjay Gandhi, Indira Gandhi, and Rajiv Gandhi. In fact, he says that even when Rajiv Gandhi was the prime minister and and chief of the party, that is Azad, had very little interaction with Sonia Gandhi because Sonia was not involved in politics at that point in time. But he does not actually, neither in the book nor in the discussions that I had with him, could not actually put his finger to why he did not have the same kind of rapport. Let
Rahul.
alone, let alone Rahul Gandhi. Rahul Gandhi definitely he did not have. But even with Sonia Gandhi, mind you, the kind of rapport that he had with the earlier three leaders, he never shared that rapport. Although he does say time and again in the book that Sonia Gandhi gave him regard, gave him respect, listened to him, gave him time for meetings, etc., etc. But he always, I think, that this is what I came across when I was talking to him, that he somehow felt that that level of rapport, that admiration, that respect, and that sort of family kind of bonding
Hmm.
has ended with Rajiv Gandhi. So certainly, and I think possibly that is one of the reasons why he's not been harsh on either Sanjay Gandhi or Indira Gandhi or Rajiv Gandhi, though we all know that there have been instances where he could have questioned their, uh, you know, decisions, etc. But with Rahul Gandhi, he obviously is very clear. He never had a rapport right from the beginning and until he was in the Congress.
In fact, that harshness is very interesting because there is even an indulgent tone with Rao and Kesri. Though he differed with them, he even led the move for the ouster, dono ka. But there is an indulgent tone. And Baad mein he says, also he writes, I regret my harsh words. He doesn't say that about Rahul. I mean, there's still a lot of time
You
before
see,
he
his relationship with Rao and Kesri were, just the kind of relationship that a boy who's entering adulthood has with his father, perhaps. There
Hmm.
is confrontation, there is a miscommunication, there are problems, but there is also an underlying love, and which both Kesari and Rao showed towards him. And as you rightly said, that he asked for the resignations of both as Congress presidents. And there is an instance in the book where he talks about the election to the Congress organizational structure, where he clashed with Kesari, and
Hmm.
Kesari did not want him to contest, wanted him to lose actually, but he won. And Kesari was gracious enough to actually call up Azad's wife, who was in Delhi, and say that the Sunny has won. He used to call him Sunny. Sunny has won, and I have lost.
Beta. Huh.
Beta, Sunny. So, beta, yeah, he has won, and I have lost, and I'm coming over to your house for dinner. So that kind of understanding, and it's not just understanding; it's
There's a very
genuine.
nice line which says the coldness between us was thawed over a bowl of hot soup. That's a
Yes,
nice
yes,
line.
that's what she served him. That's what she served him.
But Rashid, this the election, the CWC election, Azad says his name was cut by some, or he did not want to contest because he thought Kesri would sabotage him or whatever. In दोनों का the equation between Kesri and Ghulam Nabi Azad, चाचा भतीजा का relationship था ना?
That's what I'm saying. Chacha Bhatija, I think it was very interesting. And Mr. Azad, throughout his Congress politics, was always hunting in a pack. He was never alone. He would have a strategic alliance with, at one point of time, with Ambika Soni, sometime with Digvijay Singh, with someone else. So he was always, remember, he was a party manager. He had a
Hmm.
lot of affection. I mean, that he got from Sanjay Gandhi. He when Azad got married, Sanjay had gone there and danced, and there are family photographs and all. You see that. So there's a lot of things are there. Loyalty is very highly transactional in political terms. So as long as Mr. Azad was getting that kind of attention, the problem, I'll tell you, the root cause of it was when Rahul Gandhi came in and he emerged in 2006 onwards, etc. There were a lot of, so many of his chachas were there to advise him and do this, do this. See, it was very kind of intimidating and mind-boggling, and they all had a tale to say. When Rajiv ji said this, when Sanjay ji did this, when Indira ji asked me to do this. I mean, he was a man who was trying to find his own kind of feet. So I think in that sense, Sonia and Rahul, they are little aloof, they are little detached. They don't have that kind of indulgence that Sanjay Gandhi and Rajiv Gandhi had, and perhaps Indira Gandhi. So there is a kind of temperamental difference. With Kesari, you see, he was a very kind of, he was a conduit to Sonia Gandhi. and to the Gandhi's earlier time also with Rajiv Gandhi and all. Remember, KCG was not entirely liked by Rajiv Gandhi also, and even this time of Narasimha Rao also. So Mr. Azad would draw a lot of attention from, let's say, Ten Janpath or Rajiv Gandhi or something. When he said something, people assumed that it is coming from Rajiv Gandhi or it's coming from Sonia Gandhi. So he had that kind of heft and gravitas which he enjoyed. What happened in that election that you're talking about, Mr. Azad is not very, I mean, he's little bit economical with truth. The fact of the matter is he was caught, in a bind because the other side, Sharad Pawar was contesting, and Mr. Azad and Pawar would also had a lot of things in common, which I would not like to elaborate on this show. So Mr. Azad, he started finging illness. He has not mentioned all those things, and he was out of action when the presidential election was there, and that created a kind of, when the elected president, again Mr. Kesari, went to Calcutta, and there obviously he didn't want to crown Mr. Azad in that panel. So there were a lot of disquiet was there. As a, I mean, politician, I would give him that allowance that obviously he would not be talking that me and Mr. Pankaj Vora are privy to.
Okay, but also a lot of things that are not mentioned. Pankaj first, then I'll ask Rajesh. The Shah Bano case is not mentioned, unless Rajesh, I'm wrong, I missed it. Or even the reaction, his own reaction to Babri Masjid. He writes about the chronology of events, and there is a very interesting.
Meerut riots, yeah, Samajwadi Party alliance, yeah.
Yeah, the BSP alliance also, and also he mentions them, but not his role or his personal feelings in it. Also, first I'll ask Pankaj, then I'll go to Rajesh.
No, essentially the thing is that, it is mentioned in the book that there are a lot of things which he does not talk about or does not elaborate, essentially because he may be privy to it, but he's, he was never consulted or was never on board when these certain things were done. So, he has tried to not write about issues about which he had half knowledge or knowledge which was more on hearsay or more on his own analysis of the situation rather than first hand. What Azad has tried to basically bring about in his book vis-a-vis, various leaders which you were asking my two other eminent co-panelists was that, the thing is that when the Gandhis were there, I mean, when I talk of Gandhis, I talk of Indira Gandhi, Sanjay Gandhi, Rajiv Gandhi. When Azad would differ with them, it was not that he was talking, differing with them on equal footing. If they would have overruled him, he would have accepted it and would have, sat in his corner. It was only that, he would differ and they would indulge him and would, take his suggestions account and would allow him to have his way. Indiraji in particular had this special knack. Even when Veerbhadra was made the chief minister, he asked her, who should I include in the council of ministers? She said, if I had to tell you who you should include in your council of ministers, why would I make you the chief minister? So you decide, and if there is any problem, then you ask me. So the same thing when Azad was the Youth Congress president, she gave him full powers. And there are differences. There are a lot of stories which are not mentioned in the book, which, do bring about certain fault lines between Azad's relationship with the earlier Gandhis also. But then it happens when you work closely with people. The problem with the present set of Gandhis, according to what Azad has not said it in so many words, is their accessibility. What Kapil Sibal articulated on behalf of G23, he said decisions are taken. We know who's taking those decisions, but still we don't know who's taking those decisions. So this is the kind of accessibility, transparency. Then, one factor which Azad has not mentioned anywhere is the Ahmed Patel factor. Ahmed Patel was a very, very key player when the Gandhis, especially when Sonia Gandhi was at the helm of affairs. He was, as a matter of fact, the de facto president of the party. He had overriding say in most matters and could, overrule or overturn a lot of things and suggestions. So that is where, those points have not been mentioned. And it is possible that, what he talks about, in certain things, if you include in the background the presence of Ahmed Patel in some form or the other, you can understand the puzzles and the riddles much better, and you will be able to reach or derive your own conclusions. But Azad has been an exemplary leader. I mean, there's no doubt about his accessibility, his relationship with his co-workers especially in his own party as well as in other parties, has been remarkable.
Rajesh, a little bit more about the book, what went into the making of the book, what was his state of mind. He, of course, told us at the book launch that it was during COVID, मैंने सोचा, put COVID to good use. But is there a larger thought process behind the book?
The larger thought process right from the beginning, I must have had about, let's say, over a period of about 10 months, 2 sessions every week. And each session lasting over 2 hours. So right from the beginning, he had made it clear that he was writing this book because he was upset by the way the Congress was functioning. And he was writing the book not to criticize them, that's what he said right in the beginning, but to bring to the notice of the readers, of the general public, that a party which has so much potential even today is not being led in a way that is necessary for its revival. So he was clear on that right from day one. And his target, if you can say so, was Rahul Gandhi right from that day. So that was one. The other was that he wanted to, obviously, as Pankaj said, Rashid Bhai said, obviously he wanted to amplify in some way his own role in this whole journey. So that's what he has done in places which have been referred to by the other two panelists. But I just want to go back to something that you asked them, which was missed, you said, and that is the Shah Bano case, for example. Yes. So when we had, during the time of discussions, when we reached that phase where Rajiv Gandhi had to take that decision, I did ask him that, what about the Shah Bano case? Should we not be talking about it? He said, "No, Shah Bano, so there was enormous pressure from all sides, including clerics and politicians, that we must not allow the Supreme Court judgment to be go through." Therefore, Rajiv Gandhi did something that everybody was asking him to do. So I said, "What about Arif Muhammad Khan? What about all these people?" He said, "नहीं, they were all वो बोलने के लिए बोल दिए, but they were all internally quite okay with overturning the Shah Bano judgment with the legislation."
Arif Muhammad Khan was okay because बाद में तो उसने बहुत
so I said he virtually made a speech.
Yeah.
Arif Muhammad Khan has said somewhere that पहले तो मुझसे राजीव गांधी ने ये कहा कि definitely we should support the Supreme Court order. And then I was asked to back down. With what face could I do that now? So, but then that is another matter. We are talking about what Ghulam Nabi Azad had to say in his version. So that is what he said. So there, but there are other things as that have not been discussed at all in the book. The emergency, for example.
Yes, you're right.
Passing mention of emergency. Then Operation Blue Star, mishandling of the entire Sikh separatist movement for years together, not just spilling over even Rajiv Gandhi's tenure. All that has been just been superficially dealt, possibly because he did not want to talk about it, or it's quite possible that he does not have enough information on that.
Okay. But there is one thing I wanted to ask you. He's given a lot of hints and about some incidents where he doesn't name. So I have people who have been on the inside track of the Congress. Maybe we can help decode it. So Rajesh, one is he talks about the differences between Zail Singh and Rajiv Gandhi, and he says there was actually I don't know whether he says a minister or a Congress leader who was telling Rajiv Gandhi that he's going to dismiss your government, and उधर बोल रहे थे कि वो आपको impeach करेंगे. तो दोनों तरफ से he was playing fire and creating a misfit, a problem between the two. Who was this minister? Azad Sahab doesn't tell us who it is.
He didn't tell me either.
He didn't tell you?
No, he didn't tell me either. I asked him several times. He said, "Jane do, leave it."
Rashid, Pankaj, any of you know who this minister is? Rashid, would you know?
No, I think Pankaj would certainly know, whether he will tell it or not, that remains to be seen. I think in Rajiv Gandhi's court, you see, there were several layers of kind of political advisors was there. There were people like, there were Arun Singh, Arun Nehru, then there was this minister from Andhra Pradesh, the law minister, I'm forgetting his name. He was Shiv Shankar. He was extremely influential. Bhutta Singh, Arjun Singh. So there were many people, and Rajiv Gandhi would go for, on one particular issue, he would go with the set of advice tendered by one set of people, one group of advisors, other group of advisors. Azad's, I think, in that time, his kind of claim was true that he survived in that kind of cesspool of intrigue. The real palace intrigue used to take place in Rajiv Gandhi's court, and the young prime minister was very gullible to this. So anybody would give this advice. तो सुबह कुछ पता चलता था, शाम को कुछ पता चलता था, and that led to a lot of downfall of Rajiv Gandhi. Rajiv Gandhi then brought in Pranab Mukherjee and R.K. Dhawan, etc., who he had politically discarded in a way. So it led to a lot of problems. So you would not know. And Mr. Azad was constantly, battling, because he had a challenger like Muhammad Shafi Qureshi, he had a challenger like Mufti Muhammad Saeed from his own home state. And mind you, all of them had some kind of heft. As Natwar Singh had once told me, he said, the survival kit in the Congress was to leadership. He meant Gandhi's. Or that when you go, to them with a problem, you need to have a solution in mind. Because next thing you say, to iska upay bataiye, what to do. So unless you are able to give that answer, and Mr. Azad was very good. He's a past master of that thing. See, when you talk about the weakness of the Congress, the amount of elected chief ministers he dislodged, Arjun Singh included. See, in Madhya Pradesh, so during the Churat lottery case, see, that led to the weakening of Congress. But obviously, I mean, as a reader, I don't expect that Mr. Azad to admit that there were so many of, Virendra Patil and Arjun Singhs and Channa Reddy's of the world were, replaced, and that weakened the Congress, because he and Bhutta Singh were known as executioners.
Yeah. In fact, he does talk about a couple of stints with Bhutta Singh, in various ministries also. Pankaj, I wanted your view on who was the one who could be creating mischief between Zail Singh and Rajiv Gandhi, who created the bad blood, and who stood to gain from it?
The thing is, no one stood to gain from it. In Congress, it is very common practice that, certain people to have importance within the organization try to spread false narratives or stories about each other. And, this could have been an example, and I know who you are, alluding to right now. But, there's no point in taking names, because people are dead and gone, and they have no way of getting their versions. But, there, when we view Mr. Azad, you have to see it in two phases. You said that he does not write about emergency. He was a nobody when emergency was there. He was just, later president of the Jammu and Kashmir Youth Congress. He did not see emergency from the ringside view. About the Blue Star thing, there were other people who were, much more powerful than him, who were advising Indira Gandhi when Blue Star took place. And Arun Nehru's inputs were very, very important. And as per various versions, he was the one who convinced Indira Gandhi to go in for Operation Blue Star. So, Azad has sidestepped those issues because, he may not have full knowledge about certain things. So he doesn't want to be, caught in something on which he can be faulted. And, later people may say that, he's giving an inaccurate account. So these things, when you see the Congress party is not like any other party. It takes a lot of time. If you have not covered the Congress party for a considerable period or have not been part of its, organizational setup, it's very difficult to understand. In Congress, a lot of things happen, through signals, through messages. Nothing happens as per plans. It always happens by default. So Mr. Azad is aware of it, and he survived. He's been a great survivor. If you see, for 50 years, he has been in a party. He has survived. And when he writes Azad, he's liberated himself from all those shackles and all those problems. Now he can view or write things very, very freely without any kind of bondage of any kind.
But Rajesh, his relationships with the various people, for instance, the Narasimha Rao, the damage control he did post-Babri Masjid. I don't know. I had not heard about that earlier. That he, Parliament was stalled because they all wanted Narasimha Rao's resignation. So he came up with a way in between. I think let Rajesh tell us the non-resignation of SB Chavan.
Yeah, so that is, of course, Azad ji's version. That residence doesn't mean.
Azad Singh, I went and spoke to him, and Chavan said, I will
Yeah,
resign.
that was after, yes. So
Then he
after
went
that,
to
he
stay.
went and spoke to him, and Chavan said, okay, I'll come in the evening
Yeah.
and hand over my resignation. So Azad was very happy, and he came back and told the Prime Minister, and said, okay, बैठो यहीं पे, वो आएंगे तो उनका resignation लेने. He never came.
3
And
दिन तक नहीं आए.
yeah, he never turned up. He never just disappeared. He never turned up. Can you imagine? I mean, I find it so comical that a union minister should say, I'm coming in with my resignation. Not only does he not do that, but he suddenly goes underground. And
And
nobody,
that was the Home Minister.
and that to the Home Minister, and he was not to be found.
Okay.
Azad
I
had a
think
tough time. Azad had a tough time, convincing his colleagues in Parliament that let Parliament go on. We have done our best. And, once things smoothened out, quietened down, then, of course, SB Chavan resurfaced. So this, I mean, this is funny, but it also shows the kind of authority that Narasimha Rao as Prime Minister wielded over certain members of his cabinet. I mean, how can a Home Minister just go away like that? Azad might be right.
I think that worked together,
Yes,
Narasimha Rao,
Azad,
to make it.
yes.
So,
So
yeah.
Azad probably was right in saying that Rao and SB
Chavan.
Chavan collaborated, and it was agreed that SB Chavan would go underground and surface when everything is all right.
This is what I like about the book. It tells you all these little incidents, whatever the commentary maybe you say prejudice, but these incidents is from someone who has a ringside view, really, that makes the book and a whole era come alive. Yes, Pankaj and then Rachid.
Well, on this particular issue, the thing is that this thing was created about resignation of SB Chavan, essentially because people within the cabinet were demanding Narasimha Rao's resignation.
Let me get Rashid last word.
Well, I think this is a very intriguing factor, and it reminds me of a lot of things. So what perhaps may have happened that when Ghulam Nabi told Narasimha Rao about resignation, a certain Khanekar may have called up Shankar Rao Chavan's officer saying that, even if Rao Sahab calls, don't come. And imagine Khanekar was a personal assistant to Narasimha Rao. Arjun Singh resignation that Mr. Pankaj Vora is referring to that time, Digvijay Singh, Ajit Jogi, all those people who were close to Arjun Singh, they have told that, it was they had got a letter typed and it was Mr. Arjun Singh was to sign. Now, Mr. Arjun Singh went to private chamber, that he went to meet his wife, Saroj Singh. And, and that this thing was, and Saroj Singh said that he's not resigning. So these things are not, written. Maybe it was about astrological reasons or something or the other. But Arjun Singh didn't resign, and the whole history is there. I think Shankar Rao Chavan and PV Narasimha Rao were together. They were like, real, buddies and all. Going back to this, this thing, agitation against Nizam Hyderabad and these Nagpur and all. Years later, when Shankar Rao was asked that what happened on that fateful day, December 6th, when Babri Mosque was getting demolished. So he said, I went to Prime Minister and the Prime Minister was watching TV. So we asked him that, what did you do? He said, maybe TV dekhne lag gaya. So imagine both the Prime Minister and the Home Minister were watching TV till the afternoon, till all the domes fell down. So this is very different. You see, that Prime Minister was very different from Prime Minister Narendra Modi, and that's tell you why the Congress is in such a sorry state of things. You can go on blaming Gandhis forever, but I think there are other players also who gave rise of the BJP.
In fact, in that last chapter, when he's tracing the fall of the Congress, he goes back to even the Kamraj plan. There is not just blaming of Rahul, but he actually does a very good critique of what is wrong with the Congress. And I think for any Congress watcher, political historian, this book is a must read. And congratulations, Rajesh, for your role also in drafting this and helping this bring out this book. I think it's a book we all get many stories out of it. This is just the first one. I'm sure we'll have more interviews and more discussions on this. But thank you for this conversation.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.